Alrighty, we are back for episode 74, if I can count. Which, maybe I can't, you never know. So we are currently in Stobe's Gamble. In the last episode, we went on a bit of a journey. We went from Morn to Flats Lagoon to Spring to here. Bit of a weird Z trying to go north to get around Vens and head north to the Empire territory. And also trying to sell a ton of random junk, which we've mostly succeeded in. When we started the last episode, pretty much everyone, or at least like over half of people, were carrying all this random loot, and the pack animals were all full. Now it's just food. I don't think anyone is carrying random stuff now. And we also hired some new people. We also executed all of our captive nobles. Hey, we got stuff done. And we also took out a leviathan. Woohoo. So, now we need to put some distance between us and the south for a while and get north. Unfortunately, somehow Evie got fucked up. Probably got hit by a leviathan. I didn't notice. And so did Green. Green got hit by the leviathan, and I definitely noticed that. That, not ideal, but whatever. Anywho, I haven't had a whole lot of time spent in this area of the map in various games that I played. Like, this is probably, like, I've spent more time in the Ashlands than I've spent in Stode's Garden. I spend more time in the Ashlands than I've spent in, like, the Unwanted Zone, or the Crags, or the Pits, or Green Beach. Because, like, there's actually really cool stuff in the Ashland. It's just, exceedingly dangerous. Meaning you end up having to, like, hang out there for a while and have a ton of beds and whatnot. Alrighty. So we're gonna be wanting to go through, you know what? Yeah. I'm thinking, before anything, we should probably visit Black Scratch and then move this way and hit Brink. That's probably the smart move. I don't think I can go through this. I think I have to go around. Which I'm okay with. Anywho. You stuck? Alright, well, so that's probably a hostile. If it's not crab bandits, it's probably the, what do we call them? Reavers? Oh, yep, reavers. Do we want to raid a reaver camp? Eh. I can see raiding, like, the actual capital of reavers, but a camp, it's kind of like, meh. That's work. That's time. What do we get out of it? Garbage loot, tier loot, probably. And we have more loot than we can sell at the moment. And oh look, another camp. Well, I do want to see what's at this camp at the very least. So we got a swamp dome and reavers. Lots of reavers. Alright. So we probably want to go that way, right? And then go north. Probably. We want to go around them. Not engage with the crazy people. Probably. That's probably the capital. I don't want to go get a little bit closer to that just to get it marked on my map. I might raid it at some point. Or is that the outpost? Ruin. Interest. Like, not what I'm here for. But cool, nonetheless. I wanna go that way. Oh, look. Hey! It's old buddy Stobe. I look up enough. Let's see. Options, names, character names, off. Yes, yes. That will be a cool thumbnail. Anywho, that's kind of cool. So this is Stobe. Stobe is one of the giant robots. We don't know a whole lot about who he is or what he did, but this is where he died. Feels bad. All right. That over there is Spring Mountain, I think. And we want to go north, basically. That way. Down a little bit. Look around on the mountains. The height. Way station. Ooh. Is a good way station? It's a bad way station. It's probably a ruin, honestly, looking at it. But comparing it to like something over here, that's like a building, right? This is a ruin. Yeah. This is just free loot. Alright, who has space? Evie? Evie, what's your speed? Yeah, that's good enough. You are no longer passed out. Put down? Put down. 30 miles an hour, good enough. Alrighty. So, power core, that's worth a lot. Skeleton repair kit. Alrighty. Want the iron plate. Definitely don't want the raw stone. That's huge and basically worthless. So angle grinder, another angle grinder, leather, iron plates. Come on. Iron plates, skeleton. Come on. What's going on? You cannot get in here. That's worth a decent amount of money. Alright, what is plan? Go down. Green is okay. Alrighty. Original. Okay. Here is my maybe crazy plan. Motor, iron, skeleton, electrical armor, skeleton, iron. So, looking glass. Pick up. Alright. So it's looking glass and Eevee is who we need. And looking glass is this really cool thing on Linux that allows you to have borderless virtual machines with Windows. So if you want to have like a Windows in a VM in Linux and have it borderless and basically take up a whole monitor or two or whatever, you can essentially just have your Windows monitors and your Linux monitors and play like a borderless game inside of Windows, inside of Linux, and have like a seamless experience as if you were playing on Windows. But because it's in Linux and because it's a virtual machine, you can do all the other crazy stuff like be like, hey Windows, you're not allowed to connect to the internet and do things I don't want. Or let's say right, I want to play Skyrim. And Skyrim, Steam will just update it. And I don't want that to happen and break mod compatibility. And my mods will, update all the time and break mod compatibility. What if I wanted to just be like, okay, I'm gonna put this stuff on here. It's you, right? Yeah. And it's going to just stay here and not update, and nothing will change, nothing will happen. And it'll just stay like this forever. I can do that. Alright, two of those. And then the rest is the junk. Okay. And then no mod compatibility will break, it'll just work. Alright, do I want to go left or do I want to go right here? I could follow that cliff, but that doesn't seem like a smart idea. I just want to go that way. Yeah. Yeah, I want to go this way. And head towards Black Scratch. So I could like have it set up so Windows doesn't even get internet until I flip the switch and boom, Windows has internet. But in the meantime, my Linux machine has internet. So if Linux is sort of think of it as like your main, desktop environment, you can set it up so you kind of choose when and if Windows gets internet access and to what stuff gets access. And you can compartmentalize it and be like, well, this Windows machine I use for like this one program I need to use on Windows, and this one I use for video games, and this one I use for whatever, and have like basically the same Windows license being used on multiple different VMs, right? And like, and then have it all compartmentalized so that each like VM only has access to its niche thing, and you can have it all set up so it's like a one click. You click on like a thing, and boom, it all just sets up, and you don't have to like go crazy. It's just like, oh, the computer knows when you click Skyrim, it wants you to open the Skyrim Windows VM whatever and open all this software that needs to run in it, so all your mods work. But because it's all compartmentalized, you don't have to worry about like, oh, I have to have, this bit of software for this video game, and this bit of software for this video game, and like 57 different versions of Windows DirectX, and like 57 different versions of drivers, and, you know, all this stuff, which can cause lots of problems because, like, Windows is a piece of shit sometimes. And the more stuff you throw in it, the more complicated it gets and the more bugs you run into because they fired the whole fucking bug tester team because they don't care if you have a shitty user experience. So as a result, Windows super buggy. And one thing that can make it less buggy is this basically having Windows do literally one thing at a time and nothing else. And you know what? Windows, when it comes to anti-malware stuff, is kind of garbage compared to some other options. And a lot of your options are just really, really suck. So if you're in a VM and you're having Linux do a lot of the, anti-malware stuff, then 99% of malware, even with no malware protection at all, this cannot hit you because it's not made to work against Windows in a VM in a way that actually fucking matters, and it's not made to work against Linux, right? And so there is stuff that works against Linux, but there's very few things that work against like all the stuff together. Oh, come on. I'm at a fraction of my GPU utilization, a fraction of my memory utilization for my GPU, a fraction of my memory utilization for my computer, and a fraction of my CPU. Like, I'm less than 50% for everything. And yet still, the game crashed. And we're back. And this kind of sucks, but the game crashed. Not a lot I can do about that. Dump all this garbage. And we want looking glass, who is down here. Do we get all the stuff? We got all the stuff. Alright. I think I need to update my OBS to a newer version. Or update my drivers, or both. Because it has been extremely unstable. And oh look, OBS just had an update. And this is probably them being like implementing new stuff that only works on the new update that doesn't work in the older version very well. Breaking compatibility or something. So yeah, this is something where if this, everything here was in a VM, right, and I could choose when OBS does and does not get internet access and just be like, this is a currently stable version of OBS doing everything I needed to do. I'm just gonna have you not connected to the internet anymore and not have you get updates because that might break something and I don't need any new features, right? There are no new features that you could put in that I like really want. And then when they do release new features, I can even spin up a new VM, try it out on there, and if I don't like it, basically revert to my old version that's stable and not have to deal with this bullshit because that's something you can do because, yeah, VMs are magic. Tackle. Hello, pirates. Don't fuck up green, please. There are a fair number of them. Oh, and reavers. So we've got reavers and we've got pirates. Fun. Let's see, who else has space? Growlithe. So Growlithe, Eevee. One of you come down here, deal with that guy. Because he limps away slowly. Alright, grab that, leave the rest. Would there be somebody? Yes, you. Yeah. Alright. Okay, you probably have garbage. Well, I got a cleaver at least. The cleaver's are worth money. Yes. He is unarmed. That's weird. Grab this guy's stuff. The reavers, I feel like they could be interesting if they had better gear. But as they are now, they're in an area where they're sort of like the weakest of anything. And by the time you get over here, like, and are able to survive the thing that you have to get through to get over here, they're just still weakest to be like not like interesting. You know what I mean? By the time you get over here, you face so many stronger things that it's just sort of like, oh yeah, these guys, they're funny. You know what I mean? It's not like a challenge because you faced way harder stuff. Don't. I don't one of these. I cannot. What if I do that? Don't. Alright. Okay. Paralysis. Anywho, there's a new version of OBS that just recently came out and it's still on beta. And that's why I haven't been fucking around with it, because it's like, I want something stable. I'm a Linux user. I know unstable, untested hardware. I'm the beta tester. I don't really want to be doing that and dealing with, stuff crashing all the time and having weird bugs. Like, for some things, it's worth it. But, like, I've done, like, developer driver betas and shit like that. And, it can be frustrating when your computer crashes with no error code and no rhyme or reason and there's nothing you can Google because no one else has run into this before ever, only to discover that it's like hardware utilization and storage having a problem where uh, your graphics hardware is moving so much faster than your storage that is causing the system to hang. Oh boy, that was so frustrating to deal with. I'm sorry, your computer is crashing. Why? It's too good. What? It's too good. What? It's just too goddamn good. Uh, that was a weird issue. But yeah, you can actually have that problem where your system is too fucking good that it crashes because the software can't develop, like, wasn't. It was intended that the slowest part of the system be the specific part, and that part, when it isn't the slowest part of the system, causes everything to crash. Woo! When you load things out of order. So grab that, and you're gonna get fucked. Grab this. Alright. I think that's the last of them. Oh wait, he's got a sword. He's got a sword. Is that new? No. Where do they come from? It must have been like somewhere over here that I just didn't notice. Is that a sword? No, it's not. That's a sword. Huh. That's a sword. Maybe I'm blind. Maybe it's Maybelline. Anywho. I did some really cool early American swords today. There was really nice 1796 style US saber with, super thick blade, blue and gilt, really nice ivory grip, like super expensive. Wish I could get one. Unfortunately, I don't have the monies. Uh, I guess I will make do with my Austrian clone that's been sanded. I cry. Uh, my Austrian clone has been through the ringer. Like, so first off, it's essentially the hilt is glued together because apparently it broke at some point with what appears to be fuck, I know what it's called. Darn. It's this like automotive product. Can't remember the name of it now. It's like this glue, JB Weld. That's it, JB Weld. It appears to be JB Weld. It's sort of like a metal glue that's sort of like soldering or brazing something together, but it's like a liquid that comes out of a tube and then solidifies into like a metal. With this, if you, yeah, I know, yeah, weird, and it doesn't involve heat, but you can heat it up to help remove it, and you can like ankle grind it or sand it or whatever to file it to like remove some of the excess stuff. So it's been JB welded, which likely means underneath all of it there's like something broken, and that's why they JB welded it, and it's not just like a weird fasten statement. That'd be weird. Why did you JB weld your sword? I just think it looks better that way. What? What the fuck? Anywho, I don't think it's a weird fasten statement. I think it's like actually legit. Like, yeah, it's broken. uh, so you guys could all be on hold, and you guys, I'm thinking, come over here, and that's far enough away. You shouldn't get involved in any fights over here. Anywho, hello, customer, Jafar. Alright, he's got a moon cleaver. It's pretty garbage. You got any good maps? Already known, already know. This guy sometimes has some good maps. He's got a lot of books. So if anyone has good maps, it's Jafar. And he also got lots of tech that I don't really need. But hey, whatever. He's got money. That's what's important, right? So that's from the guys we just fought. And that's over 10k from this, what is that? 2 groups of bandits? That guy was at 25k. Alright. And I think this is all the stuff from the bandits. Alright. See that 25k, that's almost 20k from those bandits. And sort of like 20 of them. But like that's not nothing. Alright. That's a decent payout. Also, I want to trade with Eevee, to trade with Flareon, to move over that. Yes. Sweet. While I'm at it, anyone else have anything that's to be saved? Like, probably not. Alright. What the fuck? What the fuck are you assholes doing? I tell you to do that? No. Where the fuck are you going? You all on hold. Half you have fucking bounties. Nani? And the game instantly crashed. Okay, this is unplayable. It says I crashed because I ran out of versatile memory. That's just blatantly a lie. I'm looking at my memory utilization right now. It's like 50%. It's not telling me the exact percent of. Let's see. If I click on it, will it tell me? Yeah. So at the exact moment I crashed, it was at 51%. So 51, it's 8 gigs of VRAM. So basically half. And if I look back, I can see 68% like a couple minutes ago as like the high was lows in the 40s. Nope, low in the 30. Okay, low exactly 30. So between 30 and 68 gigs percent of 8 gigs, right? Like that's not all my VRAM. There's no way OBS is using that much RAM, and I have nothing else running. So the only potential explanation is OBS is either a piece of shit or the game is a piece of shit and it's using way too much RAM or like something. And it's not working out right. Yeah, I know. DirectX is garbage and you haven't given us API access. Okay, gonna do some technical support. Meh. Alrighty, so did some verifying of files, checked my mods. Hopefully this will be stable now. Also verified all the Windows stuff, you know, DIISM, SFC, all that fun stuff. No corruption, no craziness going on. Everything should be okay. In theory. In practice, we shall see. Uh, sure. Sell those. Not too much progress was lost. It's gonna be kind of all over the place in editing. Like, do I give you the full experience of like how buggy this is? And this, or do I like cut away all the things when we're doing the same thing over and over again? Hmm. Hmm. Choices. Difficult choices. This guy's the leg shop and arm shop and other robotic stuff. Hello. Anywho, I think everything should be fine now. Not really a big fan of sea arms. One thing I'm kind of maybe thinking about is getting some steadies in case Green or one of the snipers loses a limb, because steady might come in handy. Um, dump. You know, I'm gonna sell you because you can afford it, and I have another one somewhere. Somewhere should have one more. Don't know where. Where else would it be? Somebody have it in their inventory? I think in the last 2 episodes, we've killed 2 leviathans, so we should have 2 jewels somewhere. Oh, I got one sniper. Whoops. You have no bounties. I should have one. Not seeing it. Yeah. Well, annoying. Whatever. Talk. Sail. Sniper. No sniping. Alright. And I can sell that. Alright. Come over here, range shop. Anywho. What to start out with? Probably. I don't think it's gonna fit. That is a problem. Okay. Longbow's going here. Don't think you have anything I want. Yeah, you don't. Alright. Uh, let's start with Espion. Yeah. That would make more sense. Okay. 1.1 million. Ooh. Make it bank. Nothing too great. Masterwork Athlon hat. Alright. So. Mechanical shop. Alright, 25k. I could sell some of these. All I'm thinking is, these things, I have so many of them, it's gonna break his fucking bank. Like, who can afford that? No one. You know? What is that? 20, 30, 40, 55. Wait, 10, 20, 30. Yeah, 55 at 2k each. That's like over 100k in repair kits. Crazy. Here was Eevee. So you can, like these things, you can repair better. So they have 500 charges, while these things only have like 100 charges. So that's why I use, the more expensive ones. I never use the cheap ones, because like, why would I? What the fuck? That's called a bounty, apparently. What is Tesco even doing here? Attacking Taskill, apparently. I'm gonna run on passive. Run. Did I send Taskill here? No. How did you get here? Who are you hostile against? Oh, it's a free trader. Oh. Well then. Passive off. Passive off. Well, listen, free traders, you attack me. Go fuck yourself. Alright, we went to the library. That bar is no one to buy or sell stuff from. We want to go to the tech hunter shop over here, and then the other bar where we can buy and sell. Alright, so. Alright. He's got some food. They have long bolts. He does not appear to have long bolts. Not seeing any good maps. He's got some backpacks. How are we doing on backpacks? We've got 2, 4, 6. I want to stock up and just throw some of them in my stash. And they're not that expensive. Alright. Alright. So. Backpacks. This is a way station, not a bar. You know, it says the word bar right there. Mercenaries. We've got a tech hunter. Not seeing any mercenaries. Good. Autosave. No crashing on that autosave. Very good. Hello. And he's got a longbow. Even better. Alright. So, as far as food. Alright. Jumpion. That's where I hit Joel Jansen. Yeah, no bread. Alright. Hound Doom. And I think that's all we want from this guy. So, we could just sell themselves some repair kits. I'll try to focus more on things that have lots of space usage. Expensive. So many things are expensive. Right. If I film like this, I'll sell them like a couple of those for around the money immediately. What did we find at the Bugmaster's lair? Basically nothing. Basically nothing. It was kind of disappointing. Oh yeah, teeth. Teeth was kind of boring. Like, of all things. Teeth. Nani. Anywho. Fuck you, free traders. And so, we already wiped out the cult village. We could go see what happened over there. Or, we could go after Stobe Garden, go after a certain reaver. Or we could go after Empire. And I'm kind of on the fence. I'm thinking we visited Stobe. We're close to the Reaver HQ. Let's go after the Reavers. Is it the best idea? Maybe not. But it's fun. Also maybe not. But is it going to save us well, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But it's going to save us a lot of time. In transit. And we still have a lot of stuff to sell. And if we do that, we're not going to get that much new stuff to sell. I'm really on the fence with these sleeveless dust coats. Like, they're kind of big. They're worth 700. Anywho, uh, let's see what's going on in Land of Swords. Let's see, I deed. Really, really, really nice ivory 1796 clone, probably British or German made. It says warranted on it, which originally was a British thing, but there were so many German made swords for Britain that it sort of became a German thing too when making for, English speakers. So you see warranted on German made swords made for America or Australia, well not Australia, time-wise, but or like Canada, right? Because it's a British colony, so Britain, right? Or like all over the place. Anywhere there's like English speaking people, you'd see warranted on it if it's coming from Germany, because there's this well, of course. And later with the proof disc, Britain invented them, but some of the German companies copied them and would use them on German swords. So do you see that as well? And it's kind of cool. You'd see like a German sword with a proof disc, or you'd see like other, American quote unquote swords with proof disc, because once upon a time they had like a British supplier, and then they got a different supplier, and then they're like, hey, we want the proof disc. They're like, okay. That's mostly like later period 20th century. I think it's somewhere over here, this area. I wanted to see how far in between the Reaver camp was. It's been so long. I've been there before, Ark, but like it's been a while. Like IRL. Like, this my last campaign where I actually took out the Reavers, tracked them down. The exact positioning I'm rusty on. So you guys are gonna go over there. You guys come over here. I'm just really trying to get the snipers to have like good combat ability in melee, so that I can use them as, a fighting force effectively. Oh, right. Trade over 2 of these. And some of those that aren't perfect. Alright. Very effective fighting force. Anywho. So, 1796 clone, pretty fucking cool. Love those things. Probably worth somewhere in the neighborhood of like 2 to 3K, maybe more. Depending on where you buy and sell it. Maybe as much as 10 if you went to somewhere like, really fancy, like Christie's or whatever. I say fancy. Really fancy looking. It's not really, in my opinion, all that fancy. It's just sort of like, you know who we are, so we charge more money. Because we take such a big percent. Maybe, I don't know. I've never been a really big fan of like traditional dealers, because it's like you could get a deal not using a dealer, or you could use a dealer. Like, eh, it's always sort of felt like I'm spending more money to get basically the same thing. Why am I doing this? And unless they have something where it's like you can't get this anywhere else, it did never really made that much sense to me, because like the main appeal is, hey, you can buy from this person and you're not getting scammed because it's like they're trustworthy or whatever. Or whatever. In theory, in practice, if you like really know your shit, you're not gonna get scammed anyway. Or you, or I mean, you're gonna get scammed sometimes, but you're gonna get scammed the same amount of time at like a high-end dealer because dealers make mistakes. They're human. People make mistakes. Nobody knows absolutely everything about every single antique ever. History's sort of insanely huge. You know what I mean? Like, not everyone knows everything. Even museums make mistakes. Even experts make mistakes. Even experts who've been doing it for forever make mistakes. Sometimes the information is just completely not available to you. And then one day all of a sudden it is available and you can look up stuff and be like, oh, I fucked that up. You know, it's real life. People aren't perfect. We do dumb shit. No matter how good you are at it. Even if you're like an expert. Or, you know, or call yourself an expert. Alright. Alright. So, you guys on hold and track down that guy. And, who was it? You? Yeah. You come here. And you finish them off yet? Okay. Grab that. Grab that. Grab that. You guys can come back over here. Anywho, the other two interesting swords is one that was kind of cool. It's an Indian Talwar, was what's known as the Solingen Running Wolf. It originally was the Running Wolf of Passau, which I'm probably saying right. Wrong. Probably saying wrong. Passau is, I believe, in Switzerland currently. Don't quote me on that. Anywho, it was part of the Holy Roman Empire at the time, and back in the day, and they were the first running wolf people, and then Solomon copied it. I think copied. Solomon had people from Passau come to Solingen, and then they started using it too. It's hard. I don't know if I should say copy because it's like, well, did they copy it or were it's like if Intel sets up a factory in another country and then Intel uses Intel logos, is Intel copying Intel? Is Intel copying, you know, country X, which is where Intel used to, you know, be in or maybe still is in? Anywho, eventually it became Solomon only because Solomon stayed a center of whatever sword manufacturing longer than Passau did and much larger scale than Passau did. So it became known as the Solomon Wolf, even though it's Passau first. Sort of like, you know, manufacturing just sort of like moved. So like, what's a good example? Right. There was a lot of katanas being made in Taiwan before it eventually mostly moved to China. Like, not like legit katanas, but like garbage steel katana, like trash. And eventually that mostly moved to China and out of Taiwan. And Taiwan sort of got out of that business for the most part. They had some better manufacturing and they had some worse manufacturing. And some of the better stuff, like you can see like made in Taiwan, US 1902 swords, sabers. Or like, that's one of the better examples. Usually from like Ennis Myers. But, was what the manufacturer, I say manufacturer, it was the retailer really. I've never seen an Ennis Meyer blade made by Ennis Meyer. It's always like made in Germany or West Germany or Taiwan or Spain or wherever, Britain. It's almost never actually made by Ennis Meyer. They were a supplier who imported lots of things from lots of different places. Actually, I'm pretty sure Taiwan made the hilts, and then they got blades from somewhere else. I've read that. I don't know how true it is. Sometimes you get sources and they're like, oh, this is super reliable. And sometimes it's like some guy on a forums who is maybe like a genius and knows everything about the dot agent. He maybe has really, really good source material and knows what the fuck they're talking about, and maybe not. You know, you don't always know. And you kind of have to like talk to the person, get to know them, and learn all this stuff about like, well, what are your sources and whatever. And if you find like, hey, somebody posted on this forums like 20 years ago, it's like, yeah, you can probably not get a hold of that person anymore. Or maybe it's like, this is on some obscure forums, and it's like, I don't want to bother with this. Alright, who will be... Yes, you come over here. You come over here. Aimbots. Attack. Oh, green went down. Yeah, makes sense. Green is soft and fleshy. Was that quote? The body is willing, but the flesh is soft and weak. Yes. I'll leave the helmet. 265. I'll leave it. Grab, 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 grab. Alright. So, you can go pick up green, and then trade with Espion. Anywho, India was a very, very big importer of German swords. So people tend to be like, not understand the why, because India also was a big manufacturer of roots, which is like super high quality metal. So it's like, what's going on? You have this like super steel stuff. Why aren't you using that? Why are you importing swords from halfway across the world in like 16, 17, 1800s? Why importing German blades? It's like crazy, right? Like what's going on here? So basically, India is fucking huge. Rice is like so much better as far as calories per acre or calories per whatever unit of measurement you want to do for land than anything else other than maybe modern day corn using modern day methods. So as a result, populations in Asia were so much bigger than everywhere else up until like the Industrial Revolution, where like the West modernized and the East really didn't for a long time. And that sort of helped close the gap a little, but it was still like a gap. Let's keep you guys on hold. You guys go hunting. Somewhere here, there is the leader of the reavers, and he should be having a Me Too sword. Probably upstairs. Alright. Anywho, so sure, German sabers, amazing, right? Like you could get some really good stuff, but the wood stuff looked better. It was local. And the loot stuff, arguably, depending on what time period it is, might have been better quality steel because it was very consistent quality, right? As a cast steel, you could not cast. What's the word? Uh, where you put it in when you completely melt it. Maybe it's cast. Anywho, the consistency of the quality was very, very good. For boots with 1600s Germany, probably Woots would be a step up. 1800 Germany, about equal as far as quality. What exact year did they catch up? I'm not, I don't know. I can't give you a number and be like super accurate on that. Okay, so they have some numbers. I'm gonna move back and three, one, two, three, one, move. I'm gonna say the robo squads as reinforcements. And these guys on hold. So here's the plan. We're gonna have basically a defensive line here and enough numbers to beat them. And hopefully that'll work. Arc is pretty fucking huge. And they have a lot of numbers. Undo hold. I think we're doing okay. They do have a lot of archers. That valamon? That's valamon. Oh, fuck. Is anyone else on passive? Oh, shit. How do you get on passive? Alright. That's bad. Auto saving. Alright. I don't think anyone else is on passive. Valmon's just a bit of a beast with that Me Too sword. And his specialist gear. Alright. So, we have a Me Too longsword. Well, yeah, I'll sell it. Yeah, I'll sell it. And, alright. So, I'm going to put down Green, who is now okay condition, right? And I'm going to pick up Valamon, who is our bounty. Who we're probably not going to turn in because, screw that. Alright, come over here and then send up you. And fuck it, send up all of them. And then alright. So lots of healing to do. And you guys, you got robotic medic splint rigging. You're all good. So I'm gonna do repair. I'm gonna go to, let's see. Is there anyone we can do medic on? Probably not, because they're all robots other than Green and Robo. Anywho. Huh. Down. Grab that one. But yes. We want to go to Growlithe, trade, empty all the stuff. And yes. And this I probably want to keep on me and eventually trade to someone. Robo Poopin is 3 Me Too weapon. Alright, so beep. What the fuck happened over here? I have no idea. Come over here. Pick up. Put down. Okay, Houndoom. Pick up. They get stuck underneath something that they're not supposed to be able to get under. I don't know. Okay, Glaceon, Jumpion. Glaceon. Jumpion. There's a heart. Throw you guys down here. You two, and then the aim boss can hang out over here. Trade with Glaceon. Let's get that super nice Me Too weapon in here. And let's have Beep be the looter of men. Grab? No. Can I pick you up? I can't. So I can't loot you, but I can pick you up. That makes sense. Wait, no, that's worth 100. Fuck that. Yeah, 106. Garbage. Fucking low level bandits are gonna have better gear than that. Like, dust bandits, you know? If you can't measure up to a dust bandit, what are you doing? If you compare to a dust bandit and come out badly, you have fucked up. You have gone wrong. You have made a wrong turn. Put that there. Grout. Anywho, so Talwar, basically the situation was, Woot's amazing, very amazing. But the problem with Woot's is, it took forever to make it. My theory, because we know for a fact that it took a long time. Like some of these blades took months, and my theory for that is, there was a guy named Michael Oates who was doing some testing. One of the things he kept running into is having trouble getting consistently good quality. And he was working with iron mine from a mine in Damascus, Damascus steel, yeah, get it? That he suspect was one of the mines used for Woots, and he suspects the name Damascus steel came not just from the fact that it was done in Damascus, but among many other places, but that that particular mine was used, and that's how it got the name Damascus steel, is because they like to use that mine steel. And that mine, the Damascus mine, we know that they did use it at some point, right? And it's like one of the few mines where like we know this was used. And his thought was, okay, the name being convention came from that mine. And if it came from that mine, there must have been a reason they used that mine. And he was looking into it from that way to try to like reverse engineer what, methodology and whatever that they're using. And one of the problems he's constantly running into was consistency. And he was saying, okay, well, they made a lot of these, and he was able to make them fairly quickly, but he was not able to make them consistently quickly where it was, Damascus steel. And sometimes he'd make it, and it's like, well, this is steel, it's good steel, but it isn't, Woot's steel. If you asked it, there wasn't a pattern. He was able to consistently end up with Woot's. And some modern methods are able to do more consistent, but like they didn't have those modern methods. So it's sort of like, how did they consistently get it right? And my thinking is, well, maybe the reason it took so long, despite the fact that the techniques shouldn't really take all that long, is because they couldn't consistently make that quality steel. So what if they just made it like 1,000 times, and like 100 times it was consistently good, like it was like good quality roots, and like 100 times it was like lower or medium quality roots, and then like 800 times it wasn't roots. You know what I mean? Like, what if they didn't do it through the, hey, we have this perfect methodology and it works every time? What if they had an imperfect methodology that works sometimes really well, sometimes not really well, based on the individual, makeup of that piece of iron? Like this hunk of iron from this mine has like X%, of this metal, and this one has X% of this other metal, and they just did the process a lot. And sometimes it worked out great and sometimes it didn't. And they just did it at scale. Just made like a ton of it. They tested a ton of it, and eventually they were able to like, choose the best ones to make the best swords out of like all of these ones they made. So instead of having it, we made a ton of stuff and it came out amazing all the time. They made a ton of stuff and some of it was great and some of it wasn't. And some of the not great stuff was, they threw away or they used for some other things or they sold or whatever, right? And the great stuff, great, it was great. And that's what we want. They made into really nice wood swords. And that's probably why the amount of time it took was so long for some of these swords, is because it wasn't a consistent methodology. And that his struggle to come up with a consistent methodology was consistent with what they were doing back at the time, because they just didn't have technology to have it consistently good. Maybe. that's like a theory, and it's a theory that like, how would you prove this? Well, documentation would be great. We don't really have that much documentation on this sort of stuff because it's sort of like huss, don't tell people the secret, recipe for, Kentucky Fried Chicken or whatever type thing going on. They had a lot of, secrecy involved in this for, the reason of like, hey, we don't want to talk about our methodology for this because like we make money off of this. Like that was the thing. Oh yay. We got valamon locked up. We have your king and he's locked up. Get wrecked. Is that a crab? Fucking crab. Okay. Anywho, so that's my theory is that I think it's probably a good theory, but I don't know as much as, some other people who have done some research on this, like I post swords. Who's like really dug deep into the Mask of Steel and bought a ton of books on the subject that I just don't have the money to spend on it. But like if you look at, let's say, modern day lithography, for making CPUs and GPUs and chip manufacturing, that's basically the situation we're in. We're consistently making the really good stuff is really hard, and we just don't do it. Instead, we make a ton of it, and we look at the stuff we make and we grade it. So either it's good or it's not good, and if it's not good, well, it gets put into a lower, end product, and if it is good, it gets into a higher end product. And we don't have, like the perfect methodology that makes good stuff 100% of the time. It's this sort of like when you're working with stuff where it's like tiny little nanometer difference between like the good stuff and the bad stuff. Which basically Woots is that. Like there is extremely minute difference at like between quote unquote good and bad Woots. And not Woots. Like a tiny fractions of a percent difference in like metal makeup is the difference. Like very difficult to measure, very difficult to like, you need some like very advanced modern machines to even measure the difference other than by eye once it's finished. Because it has such a big difference in the look of it when it's done right or not done right. Right is in air quotes. It's not really about right. It's about having like the right amount of all the different bits of metals, and not having too much and not having too little. So like measuring food, right? If you have the right amount of ingredients, it tastes good, and if you don't have the right amount, it doesn't taste good. And it can be a very, very tiny amount, like salt. If you have a little bit too much salt, it ruins everything. Uh, basically, if you have not enough salt, it's like the difference between the best soup you've ever had and the worst soup you've ever had is usually a couple tablespoons of salt. Uh, you know what I mean? Like, huge difference. Uh, so there is somebody here and I can't click on him. What if I move you guys over? Yeah, that's what I want. Alright. Trade with Arcanine, I think we're on? Yeah. So that's my theory is maybe they didn't have, 100% reliable methodology. Maybe they have an unreliable methodology and they made up for it by just making a ton of them. and sometimes it was amazing and sometimes it wasn't. What seems very similar to some modern lithography methods, because sometimes the CPU comes out good, sometimes it comes out not so good, and you just sell it as a lower tier item and disable some of the cores that aren't quite so good, and make you just make a ton of them. You make them at scale. And if you make them at scale, you get some, high tier, stuff and some low tier stuff. Just because the difficulty of making the good stuff is so high, right? That there's a high degree of randomness if you can't have a high degree of testing and high degree of getting exactly X amount of everything. With literally a few leaves different, like a few grams of this metal or that metal different, could be the difference between success or failure. And no one can really figure out a perfect methodology for that using the antique methods. Everyone's using more modern measuring, right? That they didn't have. Their measuring wasn't amazing. So what if it just wasn't amazing, consistency? And so they mass produced it. And that is the solution, and then that solves all of our questions of this. Hey, this made a ton of them, and that's why it took so long. It sort of solves all of our questions and answers them in a way that's great. It's a very neat answer. It very ties up all the questions in one little box, right? And we don't always get that. But it'd be nice if we could always get that. Okay. So Terrace Leafeon with something like you. And then you have space. You fill up stuff. Alright. Um. Hmm. Anyway, you don't always get answers to sort of tie up everything in a nice bow, but sometimes you do, and when you do, it's great. And this is the only thing I can think of that really explained all those questions. Is that they just made a ton of examples, and some of them worked the way they wanted, and some of them didn't, and that's pretty consistent with Michael's test. It's he struggled with consistency, but he was running on the assumption that they had consistency, with not having consistency in the methodology that sort of answers all those questions and makes, oh, then that is really how it was. It just didn't consistently make it, the way, the right way, because they couldn't get consistent amounts of everything in the metal. That was the secret ingredient, was the metal itself. The iron, the raw iron, had those. I mean, I guess the word would be impurities, but the impurities would something to be desired. It's those raw impurities were part of the recipe. So it's maybe impurity is the wrong word, because impurities are something you don't want, but a lot of them had it, and it did have beneficial stuff, and it was sort of intentional impurities, and tried to find metal that had that impurity in it. Maybe impurity is the wrong word. It's extra spice. Some of those bits of iron had extra spice and some of them didn't. How about that? And because they didn't have the technology to measure it accurately 100% of the time, right? Maybe they just no consistency. That's a logical, possibility, explanation. Actually, I want beep and boop. Yeah, have it all on boop. All right. That just sort of answers all the questions. But I could be wrong. Anywho. So, point is, long time to make wood swords. Very, very, very expensive. Like, king's ransom expensive. Like, your state can only afford so many of them. You cannot outfit an army with wood swords at any period of history ever. And why not? Consistency of, manufacturing seems to be the best explanation, but maybe it was, something else. It doesn't seem to be like a question of skill. It doesn't seem like you'd think if it was like, well, we just don't have enough people who know how to make it. Well, a king could solve this by just paying the people who know how to make it how to do it, and if none of them were willing, you just torture them, right? You could torture people, eventually find out the methods, and that's not like something oh, no Indian ruler would do that. Like, no, yeah, that happened. That was a thing. Torture was completely normal and acceptable for a lot of kingdoms for a long, long time until people were finally like, no, this is not okay. We're not doing this anymore. Fuck that. This is stupid. Let's just all agree this isn't okay. If you do it, it's a war crime and we execute you. Rasa, not okay. We execute you. Anywho. Time to loot. There's going to be a decent amount of stuff here. And it's going to take a while to loot all of it. This is like probably the whole rest of the episode is just looting this one spot. Just because there's so much fucking loot. This is crazy. Alright, let's have literally everybody on hold. You two. And you will be the guy to just run around looting stuff. And we'll let them come to the rest of our army. Alright, rice weed is, I think, garbage? Yeah. Garbage. Hashish. Food barrels. Not garbage. Raw meat. This seems to be their kitchen. And storage of food. And grog. And other stuff. Don't want flour. Bed, sir. I'll take some gohan. I'll take a bit of sake. How's storage doing? Not great. Come over to, where are we on? The Vulpix, Arcanine. Anywho. So that's my theory. And as a result, they need quality stuff. So India, a lot of people try to think of it as like one country. Don't think of it as one country in a historical context. Think of it as lots of little countries and states and whatever with wide variety of what's the word? Of technical level. So like this part of India might be a higher technical level, this part might be a lower technical level. Don't think of it as like one place, think of it as like many places. That helps. Me at least. And some of these places had better technology, like Woots, some of the best quality steel of the world at the time. Some of them had much lower quality stuff. You see lots of like case hardening and differential hardening and unhardened swords and like really good quality hardened swords, and it's all over the place. And the only explanation I can come up with that makes sense is just because not every place you had somebody who knew how to do the best of everything, right? You had different levels of technology in different places. As a result of this, like some people knew how to make this and some people didn't, and you had 100+ languages, and it was exceedingly difficult to translate all this stuff and between all these different languages and all these different peoples. And the empires of, the English Empire or like the Mogul Empire, they struggled with this problem of like, hey, we have all these different people and they all speak different languages and no one speaks the same languages and it's a problem, right? So if, the Empire is struggling with it, Random Bob, the, town blacksmith, is also going to be struggling with this problem of like many different languages and no one speaks the same language, right? That's a real problem they have to deal with. And what's the solution? Well, one language that everyone speaks, ideally, or like internet and like technology and like translations efforts that are like great. But in lieu of that, right, you have not great communication, not great translations, not great, like tons of effort put into getting good translations. What do you do? Well, the best you can. And the best you can is not always great. So the spread of knowledge and literacy and stuff between all the various different, groups and cultures and subcultures and languages and whatever. In India, this wasn't amazing as a result of there being so many languages and cultures and religions and whatever. It's like super multicultural, have a cost of transmitting ideas and thoughts and new and whatever between peoples. It's this difficult, and that's this part of life. I mean, like if you're gonna have this massive multicultural empire, it makes communicating between all the different groups difficult. This is the way it is. And there isn't really a good solution, sort of like one state religion that everyone speaks. And India still doesn't have that hundreds of years later. It's never had that. It's literally never had that. That's the way it is. Remove this and this. All right. Hodachi. All right. Ninja blade. Fuel. Fuel. All right. Run back to, I think, Bullpix. Yeah, this place is huge. There's also a ton of prisoners to maybe rescue, maybe not. Kind of on the fence about that. So that. That's probably it. Anywho, keep that, and then those. Alright. Plank, 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 cleaver. Fuel. Capacitor. Muscle, muscle, first aid, medical supplies. Lots of good stuff. So, you have this problem. You have lots and lots of people. Language is a problem. It's difficult to move ideas and technologies, literacy and stuff between all these different places because there's all these different languages. But hey, you can tax them all. You have money. And so instead of solving the problem with, literacy and, some program to like teach all these different people all over the place, the same, levels of technology and whatever. They tried to solve it a different way with sake. Like, why is this stuff like? It's like they had a bench over here for stuff, and at some point they removed it, but then they didn't remove all the stuff and have this floating behind the. I feel like this is a revision where like there weren't cages here at some point, and then later they're like, oh, we're gonna put cages here. But then they were like, oh, but now it's in the way of stuff, and they didn't remove it all properly. That's probably a bug. I don't know. Rice pool. No. Alright. Go trade with Ninetales. Anywho, so they have this problem, and how they chose to fix it was this spending money. We're just going to throw money at the problem. We're going to import all these swords from all over the place and try to get better quality stuff that's not as good as the best quality roots, but is good enough and better than the average Indian sword. Because we have a survival bias. People tend to collect and preserve the best quality stuff, right? You're not going to spend, your family's not going to spend, hundreds and hundreds of years keeping alive, great, 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 great grandpa's sword that's, complete garbage, right? At some point, someone who knows what they're talking about is going to look at it and be like, this is a piece of shit, and that person is maybe not going to spend as much time and effort if they don't have a strong emotional tie to great, 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 great grandpa, whoever, right? Preservation of antiques is a lot of it is done by somebody who like either your family member was a collector or your family member was in a military or whatever, and they had this stuff, and your family just took care of it and oiled it because like steel, you have to take care of steel. You can't not take care of steel and have it survive. Usually. Sometimes, some weird edge case happens and it survives, but that's like the minority, not the regular. That's like special occasion stuff. Like the thing that fell down the well and ended up in all this clay and it got covered in rust, but like the clay so prevent enough air and like sealed it and whatever. Like that's a special event. That's not regular. That's not the average thing. That's the abnormal. What normal is it rusts away into nothing. And to prevent that, you need to fight it actively by preventing rust through oil or other methods like, covering it in, wax or something, right? Like cosmoline, for instance, which is like horribly nasty. You don't want to touch it, you don't want to deal with it, but it works, and so people deal with it. That is hush. Yes. Well, of course there's a pole armor there. Why wouldn't there be? Anywho. So, to solve the, inconsistency of weapons and try to get consistently good weapons, the royal armories of India and the Mughal Empire, whatever, they imported lots and lots of stuff. And the best bang for the buck they could get for quality stuff was mostly Europe and mozly Solingen. So even if it's not a German sword, they called it German swords because like fucking India, like it's way, 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 way out there. And the modern maps were not great. They didn't have a really good idea of like what's all out there, And what is there besides German? We don't really know. So I just called everything a German blade, regardless of where it came from. And usually it was German, sometimes it wasn't. Okay, go trade with Niter. And then we'll come back to this little corner. Get fucked. What do we got? That's good. I mean, we could grab 2 more. No, these 2 stack. We'll grab these 2 that don't stack. So if you break it up into like 4 tiers, right? You have tier 1, which is, you know, the cheapest, you know, shittiest tier stuff, right? That's what you'd give to like a levy, somebody who is forced into conscripted, and it's, you know, not great quality, right? Then you have tier 2. Tier 2 is better. Yeah, tier 2, something like a soldier or mercenary would be like, hey, this isn't garbage. It's not like amazing, it's not fancy, it's not, you know, boots. It's probably not a German blade imported, right? Because it is somewhat expensive to import something halfway across the world. But there is, you know, the trade, what do you call it? The Silk Road, right? So you have the Silk Road going, you know, back and forth. And one way that they're taking silk from the east, taking it west. Well, what are they taking back west? Gold. What else? You know what I mean? Like, what from the west do they want in the east? And besides swords, there wasn't all that much stuff. So this was sort of like how it's really expensive to ship stuff from China. Wait, no, it's somewhat expensive to ship stuff from China to America, but it's very cheap to ship stuff from America to China. It's because all these ships, like, there's a surplus, you know what I mean, like, of storage space going to China, but not a not a surplus of stuff going from China to the US. Same thing, but, you know, in reverse. Reverse? No, that's not the right word. Same thing, but, you know, swapped a bit. I think I just dropped something, didn't I? Yeah, repair it. Same idea. Let's grab that. Is they had a surplus of stuff going from point A to point B, and not from B to A. So it was a little bit cheaper because they had all these people from the Silk Road coming back east with lots of gold and not a lot of other things. So they could grab some swords, make some money. It made sense. And there was a need for it, and need plus, you know, monetary motivation plus people who there to fill said needs by, like, you know, actually doing it. Like, it all just sort of came together. Even though it maybe sounds kind of crazy. You know, like, we're gonna ship stuff literally halfway across the world. Like, it's a bit of a distance. It seems a bit crazy. But it made sense. I swear. Swear. If it didn't make sense, they wouldn't have done it. So, plank, fragment axe, plus cleaver, horse chopper, stick. Alright, yeah. So, tier 3, of this tier list is where you get the German sabers, and where you get some of the lower quality boots or pattern welds, which is sham boots. So if you go with like Alex Steel, right? He's a maker on YouTube. He makes a lot of Damascus steel. He doesn't make Woots. That is not Woots. That is not the historical Damascus steel. That is sham Woots. Sham Woots is still, you know, cool and still like a nice thing to do. But it's been known as Damascus steel because basically people didn't really know what it was back in the day, and then sham boots came along and people thought sham boots was boots, and there was like lots of maybe dishonest marketing, maybe this simple misunderstanding. Everyone's dead, who knows. People tend not to write down about, oh yes, I totally knew I was scamming this person in their diaries for posterity. You know what I mean? So that sort of stuff. I mean, oh, scamming is maybe the wrong word. I totally knew I was misrepresenting what I was selling in a dishonest way. Maybe that is scamming, maybe it's not scamming. Like, did they know or did they not know? It's not always clear if, they knew sham boots and Damascus steel weren't the same. Or like sham boots and Damascus steel. Like, boots and patent weld. Yes. If they knew if boots and patent weld were not the same thing or not, it's not always clear. And when you look at it, comparing them, if you don't have a Woots piece on hand, like if you've never seen a Woots piece, you've only had it described to you, it makes sense. You'd think, oh, this is the same thing. It's like, here's the description, and this looks like the description. Like, that makes sense. It makes sense that someone could mistake thing A for thing B, because it's still very common to mistake them. This is why I'm like trying to like explain the difference. But like aesthetically they look very similar. It's like it's not, unlikely that somebody made a mistake. It's not inconceivable that somebody made a mistake. So it could just be like, I don't know what the difference is. And, you know what I mean? That's plausible. Maybe there was no wrongdoing. Never assume malice. What can be explained by incompetence or stupidity or something like that. I don't remember the exact quote. Something like that. Never assume malice over stupidity, or I don't know. Somewhere along those lines. It could just be nobody knew the difference. Or, somebody didn't know the difference, and the people who did were the people making woots, and the people who didn't were the people making patent welded steel, selling it as woots. But eventually, due to lots of market confusion, Damascus steel became known as patent welded steel, colloquially, by people, because nobody knew the difference, basically. And then later people were like, okay, thing A and thing B are not the same thing, and patent weld, it's hard to make, and woots is hard to make, and I'm not going to really argue about which one's better or worse, just that they are in fact different, which is not really an argument. It's like, yeah, of course they're different, like completely different construction methodology, and one of them is basically you have two types of steel, and there's like a difference between the look of steel A and steel B, which creates the pattern. The other one is it's a mono steel. There's one type of steel, and it goes through some crazy magic stuff to look different. That is hard to explain, and I don't really understand all of the chemistry of it because I suck at chemistry. All right. No, legit, like chemistry, I struggled. Mostly because at the time I was going through lots of health problems and I missed out on a lot of the actual classwork. And first chemistry teacher, great, actually put in the work to like get me the coursework when I was missing a lot of days, and like I had arthritis and osteoporosis and it sucked. I mean, I still have arthritis and osteoporosis, but first chem teacher, great. Second chem teacher, was completely like not willing to put in any effort and was like I'd miss a day and then he wouldn't give me my work for that day for like a month or 2 or 3 or whatever, and then be like, oh, there's a test coming, and you still haven't given me any of the coursework for what's on the test. Like, you know, weeks later, it's like, he just did not care at all. With, you know, not great, but, you know, America, what can you do? Get homeschooled or get, you know, private schooled. And that's about it. That's not gonna fit. That's not too bad. So we want probably here is a good spot. Move these. Got a space up here. That can be filled up, I think, little 4 or 2 by 2. Then that can be filled up by 3 and 2 by 2. Not perfect, but that'll do for now. Now I'll take what I need to do now. Go to people like you. Trade with Houndoom. Alright. Food. You're not 100%. Houndoom. Trade. Trade with Houndoom. Alright. Trade with Houndoom. Current plan is create some space. And then I'll have more space for my pack animals. The people will be carrying food and then eating food. Ideally. Actually, no, I'll leave that there. Trade Houndoom. It's good. Alright. Trade. So, it's just green, and green can eat meat, so green doesn't eat meat. And for these guys, it's not that. That's not the case. So, that doesn't solve the problem, but eh. Trade. Now, let's have Houndoom come here. Trade. Okay. Um. Okay. That should help with space. And trade with Hungary. Alright. Right, wasn't there an aimbot that had some random garbage? No, it wasn't. Anywho, that's how India, which made some of the best swords in the world at the time, ended up importing thousands and thousands and thousands, if not like tens of thousands, pretty safe. I think like 4,000 plus were found in the armory of the Mughal Emperor when Britain took over. But those were only 4,000 like in the armory at that point that weren't already mounted on a sword during wartime when they would have been mounting a lot more and handing out a lot more swords. And also that was like 1 year, and they were doing it for hundreds of years. So tens, if not hundreds of thousands, is a pretty safe bet estimate. Like tens of thousands, it's like pretty safe. Hundreds of thousands probably. I don't think millions. Like I see a lot of them, but it's not like I don't think millions. And they're usually marked, the European ones. But what makes it more complicated is lots of the lower quality tier 1 and tier 2 Indian smiths started to copy Solomon markings because they're like, oh, these are getting pretty popular. We should copy this. And yeah, that makes it slightly more difficult. Although the Indian markings tend to be not very good. And also the blade styles tend to be more Talwar-like, less saber-like. With you kind of just have to look at a lot of them to get used to it and be like, oh yeah. And eventually it starts to like make sense a bit, but it takes a while. It's annoying. Um, it's a process. Oh, he's got a sword. We are getting really full on loot. So many reavers, so many bodies. Looks like there's 3. Thing. Then there's that guy, who I'm not so sure about. Let's see, the next guy definitely has a sword. And up one. Fuck. I think that's 2 people, not 1. You have a sword. This pipe thing is really in the way of the camera. Really annoying. I saw somebody crawling, but I don't know where he went. If we didn't easily wipe these out so easily, it'd be kind of dangerous sending Beat Boop up here alone when there's so many people who get to stand up and attack him. But we like wipe these guys out really. I'm not worried. Alright. I'm gonna call this place done. Arc conquered. Alright. What are we at? We're at 19 residents. Some of them are probably still alive, but bleeding out. Digging deeper, let's throw it away. Alrighty. Dump. Come on. Well, that's okay. Alrighty, Ark conquered. We got us a Me Too sword, and we got us a ton of loot. And at this point, we should probably think about selling stuff. We could sell a decent amount of stuff at Blacksmiths, but you know what? Yeah, let's go to back to Blacksmiths. It'll be next day. That makes sense. We'll go back to Blacksmiths. We'll sell some stuff there. And then from there, we could maybe head to, like, the Deadlands. Yeah, hit the way station, hit that Black Desert City. Because we could sell our stuff at Black Desert City, buy some robot limbs. That makes sense. And that will solve our money problem. Well, storage problem, not really a money problem. We don't really have a money problem. Or we sort of have the opposite. We have a too much money problem. Anywho. So, I'm thinking probably a good place to end this episode. We've wiped out the Ark and gotten another name crossed our list. Valamon, the leader of the reavers, has been conquered, and we got us his Me Too longsword. So that's pretty nice. I'll probably give it to somebody. I don't know, what is it, a hacker? It's a saber class. So I gotta figure out, like, who is really good with sabers, who'd actually want to use this thing. Infinite Wing, yeah, he's got a Me Too horse chopper. So, who would actually be good at using this? What are you using? You're using a Me Too saber already. So, we have 2 people using sabers who already are using Me Too sabers. I mean, I could give it to, like, Grep. You're using a Me Too weapon. And you're using an Edgewalker. What? And yeah. Step. Yes. Who? Okay. Yeah, Luquin. It's not a bad idea. Alrighty. Lucan, trade with Glaceon. I'm thinking, let's can I make this fit? Maybe? Yes? And this. Alright. So, now I've got a longsword. It's not great for armor penetration. It's not great against robots and animals. But it does a decent amount of damage for what it is. It's not too heavy. 2.5 between cutting and blunt. And it's small enough to be like a sidearm sides thing. Not bad. Alright. So, I think that will be it for now. To be continued. See ya.